And what's up? I'm gonna do my NFL Week 8. I'm assuming that last game is gonna go as it's supposed to, so we'll talk about it at the end. But let's start, shall we? The Rams over Minnesota. The Rams are the most dangerous, yet you don't know what they're doing. Teams going because with all the healthy receivers back, and Sean McVay done blown a couple games. This is a team you really don't want to have to deal with because they're so yeah, interesting situation with them. I don't know. As for Minnesota, they're more ordinary team. You can't believe Sam Darnold, can you? Did you really think he was going to be that deadly also? Now Jefferson's bad and their defense is pretty good, but I'm not 100 on Minnesota. But they're a team that's good. You know, the game of the day and the whoa, that must be something special because I'm talking about Washington and Chicago, and I had it penciled already up on my list of games. Didn't really see this coming as it turned out, the ending. I don't know what was more magical. Game winning home run to end a baseball game or a game walk off touchdown. I'm gonna have to do a video about that. But if you're Chicago and Caleb Williams, that has to be a backbreaker. Losing a game like that is like losing two games because you went on the road and you had the game win and you lost. And for Washington, you're a top in first place and you're getting this kind of sent to Jaden Daniels is balling like that and everything is kind of rolling. This is something special. There could be some momentum with this. So one, I will say this: it's gonna go one or two ways for either team. Can't say which way it'll go, but Washington's in the right direction. Chicago's playing good, but that is like a wow. That is one of those endings that's out of a movie. And then you playing Sandlot football. I mean, it's just crazy. Knock the ball down, like Chris Burns said. Knock the ball down. Can't let that thing the tip. That was crazy. Green Bay beat Jacksonville. Uh, Jacksonville played their best football. Trevor Lawrence actually did good in this game. Malik Willis came in for Jordan Love, and Willis played really good. Green Bay is a feisty team. They're the kind of team you don't want to have to deal with if they keep winning the postseason. So watch out. Arizona, Miami. Tua came back. Should he? I don't think he should. Got to get his health together. They play better on offense, but Kyler Murray pulled it out. Kyler Murray is everything that the Dolphins would need at quarterback with that core that they have. Kyler Murray has a better squad around him. I think he's doing projectively well. I just think that Arizona's one of those kind of, they're like the Rams that you don't know which side. There are teams like this in the NFL that I'm noticing this year. There's a few things that I'm noticing. Teams ain't playing. The offensive line sucks. The kicker sucks. The quarterback sucks. Defense is ineffective or they can't run, zero factors. Then there's those teams that they could beat you, but they're just average, but they could be dangerous. There are those shadow teams that you don't see. So, and that was not a surprise. Not a surprise. Because Arizona is one of those teams that people don't, they got something. They just, The next game, the don't care, somebody had to win. New England beat the Jets. I'm tired of hearing about Aaron Rodgers. I hope these heads on sticks on ESPN, these other networks will stop talking about just relax. He's done. Stick a fork in him. You lose to New England, you suck. And Maine got hurt. Brissett came in, won the game. They ran the ball on him, beat him. Two basement teams. The AFC East is already over. Boy, the days of Brady and the days of the Jets being something is done. Aaron Rodgers needs to go ahead and sit in the stands. He's done. If you don't beat New England, you suck. And how's it turned out without Robert Sala? And how's it looked since? And you've been throwing picks and getting planted in the ground. If it wasn't for that Washington Chicago, this game in Cleveland, and I was talking to my uncle cousin on the phone, and he kept going on about Jameson Winston, and I thought, what do you know? Because Jameson ain't supposed to start. Jameson's talking very before the game. He's very what's the term I want to use? I want to say that he's thankful, prideful, humble. To beat Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, the hottest team going with Derrick Henry, and these rivals are real. But Jameson, Deshaun Watson will never get his job back if Jameson played like this. Jameson was balling. I was stunned. I was having Scooby Doo. I was like, oh, is that Jameson? He played out his mind. That is the Cleveland team that people thought was going to show up. Their defense, feisty game. If they got something here, because they never get that quarterback, they still got that help wanted sign. But That was a gutsy win and a bad loss for Baltimore. And I'm not that sold on Baltimore, I'll tell you. So Houston beat Indy, finished the game right, but Houston is still a young team. Richardson is a decent quarterback. Some people want Flacco back for Indy. Jonathan is running for the Colts, but Houston is where they're supposed to be. They are they're on the way up. Still about a couple of years, I think they will be running things in the AFC once KC starts to, I think Houston is the team after KC's run is over. If there's a team that I see, because I think they're very poised. Then the next coming. The baddest team going in for right now is Detroit Lions. I mean, but beating Tennessee shouldn't really count, even though Mason Rudolph. Teams like Tennessee and the Raiders always start off good the first quarter, got two possessions, and then they get waxed. And this is another example. Detroit has been waxing teams. Detroit looking like they put them numbers the college teams put up. They're blowing people off the floor, out the building. They on a mission. I thought last year they would end up playing Kansas City in the Super Bowl after week one when they beat Kansas City up there in Kansas City and they blew that game against Frisco playing cute and cocky. No diddy. But they on a mission. They still do them trickle-rich plays, but they are scary. They beat the doorknobs off Tennessee. You know, Atlanta beat Tampa Bay. Atlanta still got the number. This is two frustrating situations. I'm not sold on Tampa Bay. You know how I think about old Baker, Faker, Mayfield. He's average, and they threw some bad picks like he usually do. Kirk Cousins is the hocus pocus man. You don't know if you're gonna get Kirk first cousins or Kirk your cousins. You just don't know which one's gonna show up. But Atlanta's one of those kind of juggernaut teams. They could for run win that division, and they're the kind of team you don't want to have to face. They're in that same boat as Arizona and the Rams. Those teams that you really don't know what you're gonna get, and they play mediocre, and yet they could come because they looked horrible against Seattle, and they were ready for Tampa Bay and Tampa Bay. Go figure. Chargers beat New Orleans. Well, after that beat down in Dallas, New Orleans did to Dallas, the Saints have been on a milk carton. And without Derek Carr and Alvin Kamara's back to where he was, and they fell off, somebody had to win this game. Harbaugh actually used some offense in this game, but this somebody had to win this game. This game was over and ugly and brutal, and you don't even want to watch the highlights. My Buffalo Bills beat Seattle. Not a surprise. The defense came through. James Cook running all over the field. Smash mouth. Could have been worse than it was. And Seattle is not a good team, average. And every time the Bills play in Seattle, it's like a second home because of near Canada and everything. The Bills were dictating. Josh Allen looked good and poised. They had some good play action passes, but usually, and these time these two teams play, it's a blowout. So it's always entertaining. Bills easily got the AFC East. You can go ahead and put the flag on the pole. They own that division, and there's nothing in sight. It's a wrap. Kansas City beat Las Vegas. Same thing in the AFC West. Kansas City is 7-0. Got the division wrapped up. The Raiders kind of play hard for a couple of possessions, and then they die out. It's just that Kansas City is like that boxer who can go 12 rounds. Like when Holyfield, you go the distance, you ain't going to beat them. So if you can't knock them out, you're going to lose. And Kansas City knows too many tricks of the trade to win. Mahomes looks a little sluggish, but they got it going with the hop. They running. They look good. Kareem Hunt was looking good. They do the things. That fourth down stance at the goal when the turnover and held them. Kansas City's defense is the truth. That's why I think they're gonna be hard to beat. They find ways to win, and you can't teach it. You got it or you don't. Denver beat Carolina. Well, duh. If Carolina wins 3 games, you better have a 1-block parade because they stink. Bo Nixon was throwing touchdowns again. Denver is one of those spotty teams. Not quite where they're going to be, but they're going to be an average team. They all right. Philly beat Cincinnati. It was a tale of two halves. At first, Cincinnati was going them down the field and what have you, but the second half, Jalen Hurts looked like his old self. That's the best I've seen Philly look in a minute. That looks like that Eagles team that was in that Super Bowl a couple years ago. They play like that. A.J. Brown back. Saquon Barkley been running. They are a problem. They'll definitely be back in that somewhere between, I'd say, the second and third or fourth best team in the NFC because no one's better than Detroit right now. But they got a chance to move to second or third. They're in that window, and they could be dangerous if they can figure it out. San Francisco beat Dallas. Are we ever surprised? The 49ers be finding running backs kind of like how, I don't know, people be finding IG models. You remember when everybody was a model on Instagram, and he's like, "Who's the new model?" And they always finding clicks and views. I mean, really, they get. I mean, these running backs they get anybody to come back in that backfield. Kyle Shanahan got a gold mine of talent. They just don't finish. But they Brock Purdy, they were trying their best to almost give this game away, but because of Dak Prescott throwing picks, Ezekiel had the touchdown early. CeeDee Lamb looked good this game. They had those two great drives, but that's just window dressing. Typical Dak Prescott. You suck for 3 quarters. You threw 2 bad picks, take sacks, eat the grass, and look all lost. And you're down by 35 points. And then you make a miraculous late comeback, and then you end up losing by 10. And then everybody's like, oh, you almost came back. If we had about 4 more quarters, you might have tied the game. It's typical Dallas. Mike McCarthy got to let go. Jerry Jones got to give. They giving up 30 points a game. They getting ran all over. And the only reason why it was close is because Purdy, they settled for a couple of field goals, and they had a couple of situations where they didn't, finish up. Game could easily put a 40 spot on them. Dallas is just, and now they use their complimentary 4 or 5 losses when they win in 12 games. Do you realize they have to go 8-1 to do what they've done the last few years under Mike McCarthy? In English, their season is done. I don't really, expect this is because they're in third place in the NFC East, and right now Philly and Washington, Philly's starting to hit their peak and hitting their drive. Washington is playing on some momentum, so Dallas is not in that tier. And if they don't sweep Washington and Philly, they're not making the playoffs. I can tell you that now. If they split with those two teams, if they're gonna obviously sweep the Giants, but if they don't sweep Washington and Philly, they can kiss their playoffs hopes goodbye, because they're not in the mix. They're not in the mix. They look like they've headed for a lottery. Pittsburgh and the Giants is coming up, and I expect Pittsburgh to win. If Pittsburgh loses that game, I will do a video. If they don't, I expect Russell Wilson to be poised. I expect them to run all over, pancake Daniel Jones, to be some bad. I expect something bad. I'm forecasting. If I'm wrong, I will do a separate video if the Giants win the game. But let's be realistic. The Giants suck. I mean, who are we kidding? Pittsburgh is just the kind of game that they should flex on them with ease, no matter who's back the quarterbacking for Pittsburgh, because nothing that Pittsburgh got at quarterback is below Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is one of the worst quarterbacks. But anyway, if that changes, I'll do a separate video. If not, I expect Pittsburgh to win that game. It could be ugly, but I expect them, unless someone gets hurt and something. And like I said, I will reserve that right. But that's week 8. How did your team do? If you're a football fan, tell me. This was a crazy week. All kinds of last-second wins. It was some crazy finishes. One of the most memorable weeks I can recall. And you're starting to see some things shape up, But that's how I look at it right now. So anyway, tell me what you think. Please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands, keep your mind clear. Watch out for another share if you like. And hit that membership. Stay woke, stay real, stay true, stay honest. And the interesting thing I want to touch on, Detroit and the Rams traded for quarterbacks. And if Detroit goes to the Super Bowl, that'll be something significant. Very seldom have you seen 2 quarterbacks get traded where they look that great, MVP worthy or Super Bowl worthy. So that's something to keep in mind. That's a future video. If the Lions go all the way, that is something to keep in mind. So, because Jared Goff's already been to a Super Bowl. He lost to New England. Matthew Stafford won. But if Jared Goff was to go and win, how often are those lotteries to pick? All right, I'm out. Peace.